So we were having a conversation with Mark Spears yesterday about what they could possibly do. We're talking about needing a Robin to Steph's Batman, that Steph's almost at 30 points per game, and the second leading scorer for the Warriors is Klay at about 15.7. So we're talking about, could you move Paul? Could you move Wiggins? Could you move Klay? And obviously the Klay thing is going to move the needle, but I was thinking about this from a fan perspective, and the text line is wide open. I'd love to get your thoughts on this. I think fans are more ruthless than nostalgic. Now, I know that that's not the main reason that Joe Lacob, who would ultimately make this decision, if he were to move Klay to make the team better or younger or whatever the case may be. But if he's thinking that it's going to be fan backlash, I could be wrong in this, but I think fans are more Bill Walsh than Al Davis. That when a player is done, I think they'd rather move him. I think. I could be wrong. But
people on social media are that way.
Yeah, that's true.
I honestly don't think Joe cares.
You don't care? You don't think he cares about what the fan backlash is going to be?
No. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, his initial indoctrination of being an owner in sport was the Monte Ellis trade. And I don't think he had a clue as to the popularity of Monte Ellis. I didn't. And the backlash of trading Monte Ellis for Andrew Bogut, and how I remember when he made that trade on the Friday night, we had him, we were at the old arena then with Saintly. By the way, Saintly reached out to me yesterday. We're going to get Saintly on the air.
We are?
Saintly is available to us again. So we are going to get Gary Saintly.
Oh, let's get the powers that be, man. We need that.
I already sent Walter. We got to get Saintly. And
we have a football hour. We need a basketball hour. That thing was
we need Saintly
epic.
back. I miss Saintly. Anyway, nobody mentioned at all the Monte Ellis trade that night. And we were right in that tight concourse.
Maybe that's why he wouldn't trade him, because of that whole thing.
What do you mean? No, I know that's not it. I just think Joe. Well, anyway, he traded Monte, and then the Mullen thing happened, and but a lot of factors, moving the team to San Francisco, and he got booed and all that. But did he get it more calloused? I don't think that has anything to do with it. I think this is like trading a son. This is Klay Thompson here.
You would do that.
Well, I have already, but that's not. No, but I mean, it's more than just the basketball.
I know
I can watch number 11 play, and honestly, I think we're overreacting to his play. The guy tore for you, trying to run down Danny Green with Durant already hurt in Game 6 of the NBA Finals. He tore his anterior cruciate ligament, preparing to come back to play for you. He tore his Achilles tendon. He didn't play for 941 days. I mean, I know this is professional sports and it's hard and cold, but you got to have a heart here. And this guy won. This guy made you. How much are the Warriors worth now? I've lost track how many billions they're worth. Steph obviously drove that, but there's no Steph without Klay. He can't. It doesn't work. Steph and Monte didn't work. Steph and Klay worked on every level, and then Draymond and all of it. So as fans, you all overreact to every missed shot, every play, and and then just get him out. Well, it's more than just show up and watch him play at 740. This is a guy who had to go through hell. And all those big moments, the Game 6 Klay, everything he's done for you. Now, you can trade him, and he can still come back in your organization at some point as a player or not. I think there's no question he will retire a Warrior. He will have a statue outside of Chase Center, outside of Steph Curry, and Steph has passed them all. He's passed Wilt, he's passed Rick, he's passed Mully. He's passed them all. He's the most popular Warrior of all time. But after Steph, there ain't none of this without Klay. So that's hard.
So as an owner, that you bring up a great point, which is, as an owner, what do you owe a player? Because more than ever in sports these days, because of the analytics, you pay a player for what he's going to do, not what he's done. We used to play, not me, owners used to much more so pay a player for what he did than what he was going to do. But now it's what he's going to do. And the only reason we're talking about this is because in the offseason, they're going to have a really tough decision to make. And if Klay thinks he's an elite player in this league and wants to be paid as such, then I don't think the Warriors are going to pay that freight. Now, if he wants to be realistic, I think they will. And what a move may do is it may take them off the hook on that, because that's going to be a really hard decision in the offseason. Draymond was paid because he still does things that are unique that I don't think a lot of other players can do. Klay's a great shooter, but he's not the defender he was. And you could probably, as much as I love Klay, you could probably find a player to do what he does for cheaper. But then there's the nostalgia side.
Well, what I think, as far as what they're obligated to do, every player is obtainable. You're not going to trade Steph Curry. it's part of Mike Dunleavy's job. And frankly, I think Mike can handle this assignment a little easier than Bob. Bob may not. Maybe that's part of why Bob backed away from the job. I'm dealing with the owner is trying, but do I really have to sell off these people that I wouldn't be anything without them? I mean, that's hard. It's easy for fans to say it. They don't have to live with them, but you have to do your job. And Mike's job would be, talk to everybody about everybody. So realistically, what can you get for Klay? Klay's still a good player. He is. He's an effective player. He's changed the way he's played. He's playing closer to the baseline, the sideline. He guards different. I like the way he guarded Harden last week. He can guard somebody out on the floor, but it's not going to be the ultra trick, quick to Aaron Fox kind of guys. That's hard for him, but he can still be effective. But but realistically, are you going to make a transformative trade of Klay Thompson to solve all your problems? Will you make your roster better marginally? Then you have to look at things like that, and maybe you have a hard choice. If it's a basketball trade that's presented to you that you think makes sense, then you have to do it. But you made a basketball trade in the offseason that, to me, did not make any sense. Trading a young Jordan Poole and his ability, and I know everybody can cringe about Jordan Poole and all that. You don't win the fourth championship without Jordan Poole. He has a special ability to beat people off the dribble. You just have to harness him. But to trade him for Chris Paul was done for other than pure basketball reasons. They felt they had to do that. And they got off to a decent start with Chris Paul, and I was still trying to figure it all out, and Chris Paul seemed to fit in. He's being a good teammate and all that. But you were playing so slow that you weren't, and now Steve's talking about pitching the ball ahead. What happened to that Warrior break? They're older. They just don't do it. Remember in the old days, not even a pure fast break, well, we would call it the Curry flurry, where they would just pitch the ball up the sideline, and it would just create a scattered court, and they'd bomb, whether it were Steph or Klay. And remember the early days when they come down on like a 3-on-2 or a 2-on-1, and they wouldn't just take a layup. They'd go to the corner, and they go to above the break and shoot a three. And you're like, what are you doing? Just take a lay-in. They don't do that. We splash around here. It was amazing.
Change the whole
But
league.
It was all pitch ahead. Get it, rip it, and, Draymond, the rebound, the rip and run. Let's go. Chris Paul's just, he's Corciani. How am I going to pound that ball on the ground over? Let's move. Let's go. We're older. Now we're going to get in the half court. Who's going to win off the dribble? Now at the end of the game, you got Claw all over Steph. There's nowhere to go. You got to pitch it to Draymond for a baseline three. Damn, we don't want that. Even, Blackbeard's old and fat again, but he beats you off the dribble. He goes and scores. So a lot of it is you make basketball decisions not based on pure basketball, and you do that. But in this one, I don't know. It would be hard to trade, Klay Thompson. I wouldn't want to be a part. That'd be one of the deals where you do it. I'm going to go play golf.
Exactly.
And then after you do it, I'm going to say, I didn't know you did that. Where's the intel on that?
To Bermuda
it's
for
like
a week.
trading Wiseman. Who told me? I didn't know. They all talked me into it. It's like Nelly trading Mitch for Billy Owens. I got bad intel. I didn't want to do it. Yeah, damn you
I
did.
got bad
Yeah,
intel.
I blame it on Ed Gregory. But I mean, Clay's different.
Yeah.
And that would just break your heart. I don't know how you would do that, but it is pro sports. If you get a deal where they're offering you DeMar DeRozan or Zach LaVine straight up for Klay, then
For the expiring contract.
then you got to go. Then you got to go in and have a talk with them, and you got to say, "Hey, can we resign you in the off season? But for here and now, I don't know how you would do that. I just think Joe, it'd be hard for him, and it should be. That's he's not all bottom line dollars and cents, winning championships. It'd be hard. Clay's different. He's just different. This is what they traded Willie Mays. You traded Willie McCovey. You traded Joe Montana. You traded Wayne Gretzky. Tell me who hasn't been traded. It's a shorter list than who has been. But I think that's hard. And people, you have to just can we celebrate their greatness even at the end here and enjoy it? They're not going to be what they were all the time. They're going to be it once in a while, and we're going to go, damn, look at Klay. That was Game 6 Klay. Let's watch Oklahoma City video, and let's do all that again. But by and large, some nights he's not going to be able. It's hard. It's a hard league. You're playing 4 days a night or 4 days a week. It's hard. But I don't know. To answer your question, yeah, that's a hard one. Chris Paul, you can trade.
Yeah, right.
Because when you got him here, he was a commodity. We'll flip him. And honestly, if you put the two of them up for sale right now, I think they'd maybe get comparable return. Maybe Klay a little bit more. I think Klay he may be in demand on a team as a finishing piece. You make, I don't want to say a drift shooter, but you put Klay Thompson on a team that has, great players around him, and you just put him in he's not a corner guy, but above the break and have him just be, cocked and loaded and ready to go, or even running. He's still effective. He's 33. He's just coming back from led the league in 3-point goals last year. So I think what they're going to do is play the next 20 games, have December turn to January. January turns to February.
February 8th.
Trading deadlines in 2 months and 2 days. And then it'll be a little like, it'll be like Madison Bumgarner.
Exactly what I was thinking.
We're not going to trade him, part because we didn't get a great offer for him. And do we really want to do that? If he wants to leave as a free agent on his own accord, we'll do that. But I just don't know if you want your fingerprints around, unless you get something back where, even if you're like, Klay, what do I do here? Come on, I got to trade you. Well, this is insane. We got to move.
Right.
Unless you get one of those offers, then what's the point?
Well, and the difference in the NBA versus baseball, and you're right, I was thinking of Madison Bumgarner. They bring in Farhan. He doesn't have the emotional ties. Now, Mike Dunleavy still does, and ultimately, like you said, Joe Lacob's the one who's going to make that call. But the difference in the NBA is if you don't move someone at the deadline, you lose the money. So $33.8 million in baseball, you lose that off your payroll. You think we have a budget, we can spend that money. In basketball, it's the whole reason D'Angelo Russell was even here. They had to get a placeholder for Kevin Durant's money, or else you lose that money.
Right.
So you don't.
Well, that's where Paul comes in.
Right. So if you lose that, if Klay leaves, if Paul leaves, whatever, you've got to get something for them because they're free agents.
I don't even want Klay to leave. I want to trade Paul. And then let Klay's contract expire and then rework a new contract. And then he has to be, let's just watch. He's played 19 games this year. Let's just watch the balance of the year. Klay got better last year. I don't think he's playing that horribly, honestly. I think he's evolved as a player. But I hear you, when Woj is dropping before the playoffs start last year, he views himself as a supermax player. But that's his ego. Come on. Steph got one. Why, I'm not going to compare myself to Steph.
Contract, can he?
That's not a bad deal.
No, it's
4 years, $100 million.
I think it's a good deal, but I don't know that I would pay Klay that, only because I think Draymond's skill set is unique, and as we're going along here, Klay's isn't as unique.
Clay's never caused any problems as a teammate. Has he ever been anything but a great teammate?
I love Klay. I hate that we even have to talk about this. I love the guy.
And
I really do.
We have to realize you're moving into the later stages of his career, and you watch him differently, but celebrate who he is. And that's where you get, what, do you want to bench me? Now, we even got into the discussion. The bigger issue is Wiggins is coming back tonight. So is Chris Paul. He's going to start Klay. But there's going to be games where he doesn't necessarily finish. If you want to finish with Moody, and you got Steph out there, you've got Draymond out there, you've got Wiggins out there, assuming it's Draymond, they can't all finish. Podziemski, Moody, everybody's on Steve for not playing Moody. And, you had to go back to Wiggins that night to guard Fox, but it was Klay. Now we get into the next chapter, and Steve has to face the media, where is Klay Thompson going to sit at the end of the game for the last 4, 5, 6 minutes of a game, and the game is tied, and he's no longer in crunch time? How's he going to handle that?
Well, would you adhere to the philosophy right at this very minute? It could change as the season goes on, but to me, until further notice, it depends.
Totally.
The finishing five depends.
Totally. I totally agree. That should be every night.
Yeah.
That's basketball. There are no absolutes.
Well, I mean, when they were really good, it was like we knew.
What was the one game? The Phoenix game, the night before Thanksgiving, when Paul got kicked out of the game, and they were way behind. They came back with that backup group, and Podziemski staring down Durant. Steve let him ride. He brought Steph back a little bit, but he said, you guys got us here. And they do that a lot in the NBA. Sometimes they run out of gas, and you should go back to your starters. Anyway, I think the trade Klay thing is just, it's a hot button issue, and it's a hard call. I don't know. I would not be involved in that, but that's what pro sports is, and you have to do it. I don't know where it makes you better, but now, right here and now, tonight, you get into a situation, and it's a late game, and they'll probably blow Portland out and not have to worry about it, but you never know. When they go on the road, what's the next road game? Oklahoma City on Friday.
They're good.
Is Klay?
These games.
It was initially what's your starting lineup, and Paul acquiesced and he went to the bench, so Klay starts. But Now you're getting into a bit of a long jab because Moody's kind of forced it, and Podziemski. I'm not saying he should be in the finishing lineup, but why not? That guy will battle you. Now you're going to be in a situation where the coach just doesn't play Klay at the end of the game.
All right, we'll get back to the baseball winter meetings and the Giants. Great, the Giants are being